Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
You're welcome once again to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform, and today's study session is on distributive trade. I am your host, Uchenna Jacob, and on our outline today we'll be looking at what is meant by the chain of distribution. We look at who are the middlemen, what they do, who they are, then what are actually the functions and what are the problems involved in distribution, then what are the kinds of warehouse, they're not related. Now we look at the first thing where we talk about the chain of distribution, or what we call the channels of distribution. Chain of distribution. Chain of distribution. The chain of distribution refers to the various agents or avenues, various contacts or points through which goods move from the producer or manufacturer to the consumers. Now these agents or these points make up, when we combine them together, we call it the chain of the distribution, because they are all linked together. Now the basic chain of distribution or channel of distribution is made up of the producer. From producer, goods move to the wholesaler. From the wholesaler, goods move to the retailer. And from the retailer, it moves to the consumers. Now, when it moves down to the consumers, the first point is the producer, the last is the consumers. Now, anyone that is here are referred to as the middlemen in the channel of distribution. They are referred to as the middlemen, the channel of distribution. In some other cases, distributors in the channel of distribution. So now they are the link between the producers and the consumers. Now, some other cases we could have, this is a basic chain of distribution, but that is not the only chain or channel or chain of distribution we could obtain. Of course, a channel of distribution could avoid all the middlemen and go from producers to the consumer street, from the producers to the consumers, or it could go from producers to wholesalers and to consumers, or it could go from wholesalers, from producers to retailers, to consumers. Okay, now either of these could happen, but now in as much as we could avoid the middlemen, we also have the middlemen also have their roles in the chain of distribution. Now, taking a look at in that case, we take a look at the first middleman. Of course, the middlemen are those links, the people that make the link between the wholesaler and the retailer are referred to, the producers and the consumers are referred to as the middlemen. Now, this middleman, the first middleman we could have is the retailer, or we'll look at the retailer. The retailer is referred to as a person who buys goods in quantities or small quantities from the wholesaler or the manufacturer, as the case may be, and sells in units to the final consumers. Now, it means the wholesaler does not sell in bulk. He can buy in bulk but sells in units. He's a bulk breaker. He sells in units to the final consumers. Now, what are the things that we could consider whenever we are setting up a retail business? Now, to set up a retail business, number one, we consider the following factors. Number one, talk about what? The experience. Okay, we look at what? Availability of supply. Availability of supply, and means regular supply. Then the market size, then the capital involved. Okay, now these are certain factors that are essential to consider when a retailer is looking at the location of the business as well. When the person wants to do what? Wants to achieve or carry out a retail business, then he has to consider certain things like these. Now, the retailer has certain functions he performs to the wholesaler. Now, he also performs certain functions, in fact, general functions of the wholesaler now, of the retailer. Pardon me. Functions of the retailer. I have one. Functions of the retailer. First is that he stocks a variety of goods, meaning that he makes the consumers to have a great number or a great variety of goods to choose from. That's number one, that he stocks a variety of goods, thereby giving the consumers a variety of goods to choose from and widening their choice. Number two is that he grants credit facilities to consumers. He could grant credit facilities to them since he has personal relationship with them. The third one is that he sells at convenient hours and locations to the consumers. Okay. Then fourth is that he also, to the wholesaler, he is able to buy and advertise in most cases to the consumers on behalf of the wholesaler. The functions the retailer performs. The retailer performs certain functions even to the wholesaler as well as to the consumers. For instance, certain functions that the retailer performs to the consumers include, number one, that they sell in units to the consumers. Now that means they sell according to what the consumers can afford. Number two is that the retailers can grant credit facilities to the consumers as well, because definitely they are able to, because they have a personal relationship, then they are able to they are able to assess those that are creditworthy and grant them the necessary credit. Then the number three is that the retailer he sells at convenient hours and spots where the consumers are able to access the goods at the required quantity. And the fourth is that the retailer is able to advertise the goods to the consumers. And fifthly is that the retailer actually sells varieties. He stocks varieties, so thereby giving the consumer a wider choice of goods. Now, that one being mentioned, now how relevant is the retailer to the wholesaler? Now, the retailer is able to help advertise the products to the consumers or to the market. Two, the retailer gives the wholesaler and probably the manufacturer the information on market situation, that is how the consumers react, what the consumers say about the product, and so on and so forth. Three is that the retailer helps to clear or break the bulk of the helps to clear the warehouse for the wholesaler. Now, these are certain functions that the retailer performs either to the consumers or to the wholesalers. Now, looking at that, we now move to the next person. We decided to go to the retailer first. Then let's look at the wholesaler. The wholesaler. Now, the wholesaler is someone that actually buys goods in bulk from the manufacturer directly and breaks them into small quantities and sells to the retailer or to consumer cooperatives or to the consumer, as the case may be. Now, the wholesaler here is a person. He actually makes sure he in most cases the wholesalers are distributors to certain manufacturers, so they are not at liberty to actually stock as wide range of products as the retailers. Now, then even that, they could be agents, they could be distributors as mentioned, and but now they have certain functions they perform to the manufacturers as well as the retailers. Now, that means as a link. Now, first function, of course, is that the wholesaler is a link between the manufacturer and the retailer, definitely. Then, secondly, is that the wholesaler breaks bulk. That means he buys goods in bulk from the manufacturer and breaks them down for sale to the retailer or the consumers, as the case may be. Now, thirdly, the wholesaler enables the producer to continue production by paying cash and clearing the warehouse for the manufacturer. Now, the retailer has his own personal or individual warehouse or private warehouse where he moves the goods produced in the factory or the store of the manufacturer into the warehouse, thereby helping him to continue production process. Now, as we can see, the wholesaler is quite important. Now, some wholesalers actually brand and package products on behalf of manufacturers. Certain products are produced and they are franchise. These wholesalers get the franchise to actually package in their names and sell. So now you see such cases. You have distributors, agents, and marketers, and so on and so forth. Now, being wholesalers. Now, these are certain functions of the wholesaler, either to the consumer or either to the retailers or to the manufacturers. Now, moving down from there, having a wholesaler and a retailer as middlemen, what are the effects they could have? Now, those are the things that could serve as problems that are faced in distribution in West Africa. Now, but not necessarily. There are certain arguments that middlemen should be eliminated in the distribution chain, while some people actually advance the argument that middlemen should be left there. Now, what are certain reasons? For instance, middlemen should actually be left in the distribution chain. Why? Because definitely they make goods available, goods that are produced in quite different places available to the consumers at the required places. Secondly, certain goods certain goods cannot be transported by the manufacturers to the consumers, definitely, because of their nature and because of the wide reach of the market. So because of the existence of middlemen, the producers are able to reach wider consumers. Now, thirdly, is that the middlemen here actually are a source of advertisement to the on behalf of the manufacturers or producers. Now, either of these serve as certain points that actually make for the continued existence of the middlemen in the distribution chain. But now, let us look at the other one. Let's look at the other one, the problems of distribution in West Africa. Now, the distribution case in West Africa here, those are certain things that actually lead to even some arguments that distribution, that middlemen should be. But what are the things that militate against effective distribution in West Africa? Now, for instance, number one is hoarding. Certain goods or certain individuals tend to hoard or create artificial scarcity through hoarding. That is one of the reasons that middlemen were actually advanced to be eliminated from distribution chain, because of this same reason of hoarding. Hoarding creates artificial scarcity in the market just because some people want to actually gain advantage of high prices. Now, when goods are scarce, the only normal thing is that it becomes the survival of the fittest, and in such cases, prices increase because a lot of people will be scrambling for the few ones. Now, when the prices are now high, they release it for sale. Now, that is not a good thing. Then the second one is that we have inadequate or poor transport or road networks. Now, the transport network or the road networks that connect one place to the other, we could have less developed roads that do not encourage quick movement and distribution of goods and services. Then the third point is that there are inadequate storage facilities. In most regions in Nigeria and West Africa, we have very less developed storage systems, where certain items in this time and age get spoiled, especially the perishable ones. They are because of inadequate storage facilities. 5, we have lack of developed markets. The markets in this case being developed talks about good and proper marketing systems, marketplaces that are close to the consumers, and so on and so forth. Then we look at the next point is the price control system. Where price control system does not consider the forces of demand and supply, then it becomes arbitrary. When it is arbitrary, then it does not favor certain production, and it will lead to certain other issues like hoarding and artificial scarcity, or the activity of the black market will be promoted. Now, these are problems that actually militate against the effective distribution of goods in West Africa or in Nigeria, as the case may be. Now, when we talk about this, we looked at the time when we were talking about the wholesaler, we mentioned that he actually deals with stores goods in his own warehouse after clearing it from the stores of the manufacturer. But now, what kind of warehouse? What is a warehouse, and what kinds of warehouse do we have? Now, a warehouse in this case, a warehouse is just a facility provided by an individual or by an entity or by an organization, whereby goods are stored for certain purpose, for specific purposes, either in anticipation of demand or just for what, a particular period until they are to be used. Now, when we say in anticipation of future demand, it means that the goods are, that is specifically for commodities, where goods are kept until so that they will be readily available when they are needed. Now, warehouses could be classified into three. Okay, we have, first one, we have the private or individual warehouse. Two, we have the bonded warehouse, or let's put it this way, let's say the state warehouse, and we have the bonded warehouse. Now, the first one, we have the private or individual warehouse. These are warehouses that are owned by individuals or organizations. They are used for storing goods in anticipation of future demand. That is, they either produced or manufactured goods or imported goods, as the case may be, bought until they are needed but to be supplied or to be sent to the market. That is the purpose for which private warehouses are kept. Now, but for state warehouse is actually owned and managed by the state or by the government. It is a special kind of warehouse that is set aside for keeping goods that have been seized, things like contraband goods or seized items that are kept until it will be auctioned out or destroyed as the order of the government may be. So, but the bonded warehouse is a privately owned warehouse, but has been leased on bond by the government. The bonded warehouse is usually located near to the ports, and it is a place where goods are kept until the duties on them are paid. So those bonded warehouses are owned by private individuals but run or used by the state under the bond of under a bond or understanding between the owner and the state. Now, this brings us to the end of the study session on chain of distribution. Now, you'll be having some questions coming up on your screen. Take a look at them, and where you have issues, go back to the video.